start, I'll introduce myself and then I'll introduce our awesome panel to you guys. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm Kat, and I am the founder of GetCatFit, PNBA Figure Pro. I'm a certified personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and I'm also the promoter for the Florida Surge. And I'm super excited to be here with these wonderful women that I have on this panel to answer you guys' competition questions, because we've probably all been there, done that. If it's even something random or silly, I'm sure one of us has done it. So we're here to help you guys learn from our mistakes and also learn from the things we've done right as well.
Yes, it's for me.
So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Tracy. Oh, are they on? Are they on? Okay. All right, I'm muting everybody. I'm going to unmute Tracy. Hold on just a second.
Who's Tracy?
Tracy is popping in just a sec. Tracy. Oh, Derek. Sorry.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, it's under my husband's.
I was like, okay, it says Derek.
No, there's no boys here.
No?
So I'm Tracy. Is that what I'm supposed to do, Kat? Introduce myself?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm Tracy Simons. I've been doing bodybuilding in general, natural bodybuilding for about 8 to 9 years now. I've been promoting for 3 years. I judge, I do posing. I just really fell in love with the sport of, because I had high cholesterol and I was terrible at eating properly. And I thought, man, I got to do something. And my dad was a bodybuilder in the 80s. And so I was familiar with figure, and I did my first show. I did both bikini and figure. I liked them both. I did well, but it was a Nicole Week show. I don't know if y'all know Nicole, but she's awesome. And ever since then, I was doing one show in the fall, one show in the spring for years and years, doing figure. And then I switched over to bikini. So been doing that for about 4 years. I'm a pro in bikini. I'm a pro in figure. I'm a pro in bikini model. And also through other natural organizations, the DFAC, the OCB, things like that. So I think I've done probably about 25 shows, kind of lost count. But I just love it. I love helping other people. Like you said earlier, Kat, when we first got on, we didn't have a format like this when we first started. You went to a show, you hoped you knew what you were doing, and every show you went to was a learning experience. Now y'all as new competitors can go to a show the first time and actually be competitive because you have resources. And I think that's amazing. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. And can you guys hear me too? Yeah. Okay. Tracy's also a head judge for the NGA. So if you have any questions for judging, I will tell you, she did give me one of the best feedback, and it was funny, but it was true. She told me my bikini bottoms were too wide and to think about granny panty versus a thong. And she was right, because it made my booty look flat with my bikini as wide as it was. So anyway, that was a funny story. And that was just something, judges' feedback is very important.
Sure is. Yeah, sure is. And something simple like that can make or break it. And that was from me, personal experience. I used to wear the wider cut and I got low glutes, even though I got glutes. But if it's hid with a bikini, they don't see them. Don't look like you have anything. So yeah, it's something so easy. And that's why you have to have a good suit maker too.
Yep. And we'll talk about that too here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and ask Lacey to introduce herself. Hold on just a second, Lacey. I'm trying to make sure I can get everybody off of mute here. Alexander. All right, Lacey. We have Miss Lacey Oki.
Hi, I'm Lacey Oki. I haven't had as much experience as Tracy with bodybuilding, but I have been competing since 2015. I have a background in art and photography, and specifically like figure drawing or portrait photography. So, I mean, I just love muscles. Like, I grew up drawing Greek and Roman statues. So, yeah, so I just love muscles. It's beautiful to me. And I first went to a bodybuilding show and just, I'm like, wow, maybe I could do that. So, I started training just right after my second baby and was really motivated to get in shape for that, and fell in love with lifting weights again. And the nutrition side and changing my body with nutrition. So yeah, so I got my pro card last year in figure and bikini. Bikini's the, I only started bikini last year, but yeah, so now, I mean, I love posing. I've always loved to dance, so I just, yeah, I love posing. I think it can make or break you even if you have a bomb physique. So that's where I stress the importance of, but yeah, so I do fitness photography as well. So hopefully I can get back to doing that when the lockdown is over.
Awesome. Thank you, Lacey. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to have Courtney introduce herself. Just a second, Court. There you go, Courtney.
All right. So I'm Courtney Spaeth. I probably have the least experience out of all these ladies. I started competing in 2017. My background, I've been a physical therapist assistant and rehab director for 16 years. And then took that one step further into the personal training after I had earned my pro card last year. So I actually have my pro card in figure, classic figure, as well as physique in the PMBA as well as the NGA. So I have found my second home with, a sport base per se, because I was always active in sports. A couple of years before I started this, I had actually blown my knee out to rehab myself. And just knowing the importance of balance and muscle symmetry, this sport kind of drew me in to really target and hone into what I needed to fix for myself, as well as the nutrition part. I also have high cholesterol. Had high cholesterol. I know. And actually, after years of good nutrition now, I still have high cholesterol, unfortunately. It's hereditary. My doctor's like, there's nothing more that you're doing wrong, obviously, because you're training and eating right. So I started taking, some natural things that have helped. But anyway, I'm happy to be here. I love the sport. I love the muscle balance, symmetry, build, the posing. I was a gymnast through all my years in school. So just having that little piece of choreography and, stage presence has really brought that piece back to my heart that I always loved in high school. So happy to be here. And I'd be happy to help anybody with posing. I do posing coaching, all that stuff too. And that's part of my giveaway today, a little posing session. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ladies, so much. So as you guys can see, we have a really awesome panel. And I know I speak for all of us when we say that we love this sport and we are so excited to be able to give something back by hopefully answering some of your questions and getting you excited to compete as well. So we're going to go through the list. I'm just going to start with some of the questions that came in on the registration. I'm going to put the registration link in the chat. So if you haven't had an opportunity to register, make sure you do that because we're using the registration for the drawing. And we do have some really cool prizes for free show registrations, posing coaching, personal training sessions. So some really cool prizes that these ladies have offered to give. So I'm excited. I'm going to put this in the chat. Courtney, we might lose you, Courtney, in just a second. Okay. So it's out there. If you didn't register, make sure you go register. We're going to start with our first question from me, Sean. It says, this was funny. We were talking about this in the beginning. How do you go to the bathroom after you get your spray tan and not ruin it? So we are going to start and go from Courtney's way all the way through to Tracy and Lacey's way. And I actually Tracy's way, but we're going to let Courtney tell her. I love it.
So I grew up as a country girl. We wherever we were, whatever we were doing, you just pop a squat. So I just naturally am a good hoverer. So I know there's cup techniques and some of the other ladies will talk about it, but I just hover. I have no problem with going to the bathroom. So that's me.
Lacey or Tracy. Lacey, you and I.
Go ahead, Lacey.
Okay. Well, I'm good at hovering as well. I know that some women say even though they hover that they like pee all over themselves. So You can do, there's like little funnels that you can buy that's specifically for that purpose. But some people, they put like plastic on the toilet seat so it won't ruin their tan when they sit down. But I just hover. I just hover.
So
You have strong quads, right?
That's right.
we all do. So I use a styrofoam cup, kind of take it and poke a hole in the bottom of it and kind of put it up in there nice and tight so it doesn't leak out the sides at all or down your legs. And you just aim it to the side of the toilet where there's no water to splash up on you. So, and then just wait for a minute, let it all come out. Make sure it's done, because you don't want to take the cup away and then have the cup drip on you either. That's really gross. Yeah, but the cup works well for me. It really does. That's my advice. And not just cups of peeing. I also will use maxi pads underneath my armpits for sweating, and you can walk around with your maxi pads under your arm during the day, and it will save your tan.
Oh, I never thought about that. That's a good one too.
So those are the two biggest tanning tips that I have.
I like it.
You can't wear deodorant.
Yes, you're getting the down and dirty from competing too. It's all nice and glamorous, but
Yeah.
there's some down and dirty too. And that's
Don't sleep naked. A lot of people
No.
think that they should sleep naked and that will help. It does not help. Okay, wear long sleeves, long pants, loose, but put clothes on, please. Put clothes on.
Ready to get your tan way worse. Okay, our next question is from Sarah. So Sarah, you can wave and we'll see you. How far apart do you recommend competitions and how to warm up before show? These are both great questions, and we'll probably have a variety of answers on this. Personally, prep is very hard and time consuming, depending on where you are in your life personally. And for me personally, if I'm in stage shape, I would like to take the stage a couple times while I'm in that shape, because otherwise it's a take the stage and then you kind of go back to building phase and then you go through prep again and take the stage. But again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, because competing costs money. It depends on your budget. But for me personally, I like to compete closer together, just because maybe you'll learn something from your first competition. You're still in stage shape and it was something small. You can do a show in a couple weeks from then. But that's personally my take on that. Tracy?
So when I first started competing 8 years ago, I would do one show in the spring, one show in the fall. That was pretty typical for quite a few years. But then when I really wanted to get serious and really win my pro card and take it to the next level, I started competing like throughout the year. But when I would do shows back to back, I really like 2 weeks apart is pretty good for me. So for example, not last year, which would have been 2018, 2017 was when I really was going for universe the first time. And so I competed every 2 weeks for like, I want to say 4 shows prior to that, because I knew that every show I got a little leaner, I dialed my diet in a little bit better, and that was the show that I cared about. And I did the same thing for 2018 for universe too. I only did 3 shows, and I did shows, like I did a whole different, division in a different, what am I trying to say? Instead of the NGI, I competed with a different organization, and I competed as an amateur because I was not a pro with them. So I didn't have to be as lean because I wasn't a pro. Like usually amateurs aren't quite as lean as what the pros are. It just seems to tend to be that way. And that was 2 weeks out from a pro show, but I did as bikini model, which I didn't need to be as lean, right? But I had to be leaner than the first show. And then 2 weeks later, I did universe for bikini pro. That was my second year that I won universe. So I think it depends on what your goals are. What are you going for? How lean do you need to be? And also how your body responds. Not everybody can compete every 2 weeks. Some people's body you don't rebound. I've seen people up on stage that look very sickly because their body just is worn out. Take a break, get off the stage. So I think it's very dependent on each individual person.
Lace?
I'm with you, Kat. I don't like to compete for multiple seasons. I did a show last year in the summer, and then a show in the fall. And that was hard for me. I felt like I was in prep all year long. So I really like taking the time to build. So if I need to improve on muscularity, I would take at least a year off. But if I just needed to be leaner, you know, maybe I'd compete soon after that. So yeah, so I plan on competing in multiple shows in the fall, just one season this year. So I'm with you. I'm also, it's definitely trying on your family as well. You try to find that balance. So I feel like my off season, I can focus more on the family and then do prep, not all year round. So
Courtney, how about you?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the person as well. For me personally, having that chunk back to back, either a week apart, I do okay with that. Some people don't. So at least a 2-week stretch in between seems to be the best for most. And taking advantage of, like you said, Kat, when you're ready, I want to nail some out. So that's one thing that I did not do my first year. I did one show in the spring and one show in the fall. And then once I realized, oh, I can do more back to back. There's more federations. I didn't even know that there was a such thing as federations at that time. So once I kind of researched and found more of, you know, who has what to offer and what the show formats are, then I realized doing several back to back was the most beneficial, most bang for your buck. When you're ready, do it. And yeah, but definitely listening to your body. If you're beat and wore out, don't do a show back to back. Takes a little time in between.
And I would like to add also that if you get judges' feedback, which you should at every show, and every judge says, hey, listen, you need to build this, then even if you have 2 more shows lined up, maybe you should think about what your goals are. You know, are you doing those shows because you want to win your pro card, but they're telling you that you really need to work on something? Because if that's the case, then take the time off and build. But at the same time, even as a judge, my say isn't everything. You know, there's been times that judges have said things to me and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to go do the show, whatever. And guess what? I've done well in another show. So do what your heart desires to do, but listen to the judges also. Because if you have a season of, say you have 5 shows lined up and that's your goal, but you do your first show and the judges are like, that's not happening, then listen and listen. Mm-hmm.
It'll save you some heartache in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And money too.
And money, time,
Money.
family, like you said. Yeah.
Well, and make sure you have if you have a trainer. I didn't have a trainer except for, I only hired my trainer just for stage prep, like the month before a show. If you have the right trainer, they'll tell you when you're ready too. I mean, I've met trainers that will put girls off for 2 years just because they want their money. Like, use your brain too on that. You know, you have to kind of lean down and do your first show to know what you need to work on. So don't let anyone stop you from doing your first show. Just do it. Don't let a trainer ever say you're not ready for your first show. Do it, because then you'll get feedback on what to work on.
And as a coach, I've told that to clients too. You know, you may not be quite ready, but we know that. Get on the stage if that's what you want to do, and get your feedback, like you said, and just go for it. It's your first time. Who cares? Have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you've worked hard. That's awesome. Okay, and then the next part of that question was how to warm up before a show. And most shows will have weights or bands back there. And I would recommend probably 20. You guys think 20 minutes before you're going on? It's kind of hard because they'll say, you know, get ready, and then you start pumping up, and then it could be a long lull. So you kind of want to listen to your body too, because you don't want to get pumped up and then go flat before you go on stage. But it's an interesting balance, the warm up. And that is a great question. But I would say 20 minutes before you think you're going on, and then just kind of keep pumping blood to those areas. Tracy?
Until they're tired. Yeah. I don't really have a specific pump up routine. I don't. I eat my Reese's peanut butter My trainer has me do a shot of tequila because it makes me vascular.
Wine.
Yeah, I give it about 5 minutes. And then I just do some light weights, some bands. And when I feel my muscle fill up, I mean, you feel it fill up, you feel it get fatigued. So just go to that level and just try not to sweat your tan off. That's really what it's about.
That's right.
The day
Yeah.
before competition, I typically do a little run through because you're kind of at that top at the end of your peak week cycle, and you will get kind of an idea, a ballpark, because everybody is a little different. My first show took 30 minutes, and I didn't start warming up soon enough. So I started doing that as a routine the day before. Okay, I'm going to do my pump up routine. Let's see where I'm at time wise. And that way you kind of have a ballpark of how long it's going to take you. But yeah, sometimes things happen on the stage where, crap, that class was on a lot longer than we thought. And yeah, you got to just roll with the punches at that point. I do recommend bring a band with you if you can, because sometimes there's things that you want and you just can't get to, especially if some of the other classes behind you start warming up too early and they're taking all the equipment. So I always have a backup plan.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
Very good advice. Okay, question from Lori from Florida. How long should you take to build for off season? Is 20 weeks sufficient for prep? I'm going to defer to you ladies on that, because I like a lot of these questions. These are fantastic questions. And a lot of them is everyone's physique is so different that depending where you are, if you stay super lean throughout the year, you could probably do it in 8 to 10 weeks, depending on how lean you are. But if you're not, and you're really trying to build and have goals, then you need a little bit longer prep time.
I would say for your first show, go slower. Because you're trying to get in, like, just the habit of tracking your food and knowing how your body is going to respond. So I would just give yourself more time. Don't say, like, oh, I'm just going to do a 12-week prep because everybody does a 12-week prep. It's more individual, but I would lean towards more time first competition. Yeah.
I think it varies with each person. You know, my very first competition, I did a prep for 8 weeks. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was 5 weeks post hip surgery. Like, yeah, you know, like whatever. And I did really great. So I don't know. I think it's one of those questions where everyone's a little bit differently. As I get older, like this prep, I'm doing at least minimum of 20 weeks because I'm older now. It's different. I'm off season now for 18 months. Like I got work to do. So I just think it's set yourself goals, set yourself small goals. You know, definitely you have to have your goals, but don't push yourself on stage if you're not ready either.
Yeah, and I agree. It depends on the person. It's kind of a loaded question, really. You know, I might be starting off prep at 16% body fat. You might be starting prep at 23% body fat. So your metabolism burn might be different than mine. Your macros might be different than mine. Especially if you're new, your coach may be playing and adjusting things to figure out what's going to be best for you. So it's really hard to say, you know, based on just the question, is 20 weeks enough? I couldn't tell you if 20 weeks is enough. There's so many other variables to look at. So, you know, definitely if you're not sure, you want to hire a coach so that they can help you figure out that process, where you are, where we need to be, what we need to do to get there. So definitely, yeah, take the opportunity to have someone help you with that if you're not sure.
But 20 weeks is enough.
Yeah, that's a
10 weeks is enough. I mean, it is for most. I mean, again, it depends on where you're at, but I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
I think I'm about 20 weeks out.
Well, I've got people that have approached me that have a lot to lose. And if you're, you know, a transformation category, I don't like to take people down that fast. So it really depends on where you are.
Yeah, and what you're planning on competing in and all that stuff. So that is, but that is definitely a good question. I mean, if you're thinking about competing, you know, that again is a good question to
seek out good reputable coaches. That's really the key to a lot of these questions is if you're going to hire a coach, hire a good coach.
Interview them.
Yeah, find out what their philosophies are, what they think, and stand up for yourself. You know, if you know, I know my body well enough. I do all my leaning out myself, and then I have a coach that I hire for the last month, like I said. I tried to use him leaning out before, and I told him going into it what I needed and how my body reacts. I've done this enough. And he came in and he switched it all on me. I did it for 4 weeks, and I was like, I'm done. Well, I'll see you in a month before universe. Thank you very much. Because I felt terrible because he didn't listen to me. So listen to yourself. You know your body well enough. You should never feel terrible during prep. You should feel good. Like, if you're doing prep right, you should feel amazing. Really, truly, most of the time. So hire a good coach.
Next question is from Claire Berry. How many hours a week should I be devoting to posing practice? And that's actually a really good question. Personally, and I think from all of our ladies, anytime I lift, I'm posing. So in between sets, you're posing. In between, after you're done, you're posing. And that's one thing also that has, as Lacey said, you can have a killer physique and someone else may have a pretty good physique, but if they come in with killer posing skills, they're going to win. So that's something you should be practicing all the time. If you walk past the mirror in your bathroom, pop a flex, whatever you need to do. But that would be my
Also, don't forget the heels during your off season.
Yes.
You don't have to pose in your heels every day during off season, but I would do it at least 3 times a week. Because you need to get used to like holding the poses, and those heels kind of, it's different with that muscle memory. You're going to flex different muscles with heels. So,
and the hair, that's the other thing. Like if you're planning your hair down, practice just that little shift of your weight in the shoes. You would be amazed at how unbalanced you're going to become.
Right.
So yeah, that at least the 2 to 3 times a week. I say 20-30 minutes minimum. Minimum for posing. Otherwise, daily you're going to be popping things in between your sets at the gym. But definitely don't forget about the hair, and please smile when you're practicing too. It just makes it that much more natural on stage, where you're going to be nervous and you're going to be prone to not smile. So if you're practicing it and feel awkward in the gym, do it, because it's just going to help you that much more on stage.
Right.
I would say practice until you can't get it wrong.
I have a general guideline, what I kind of go by. So when I know I have a show coming up, my goal is to pose for 10 minutes just for mandatories. I'm not talking about T-walks. I'm saying just whatever mandatory poses are, because that's what all that matters. For 10 minutes after my workout. And if I can do that every single day for 10 minutes after a hard workout, I can do that on stage for as long as I need to when I'm rested. So I'll start, at 5 minutes, and I'll just set a timer and do that every single day. And then the next week, 6 minutes, next week, 7 minutes. And I just work it up, and 10 minutes, set your timer every single day. And you don't, like they said, don't wear your shoes every day, but you should still wear your shoes.
I can imagine.
Those are good tips too. Hair, that's a good tip. All good stuff.
Yeah, because when you're in your heels and you're moving your hair back and you're shaking already, that even like Courtney said, that slight movement of your arm can knock you off. So,
and something that I do on show day, and maybe it will help some of you, and it really, we talked about pumping up, and something that helps me pumping up is when the group in front of me is on stage doing their mandatories, I do my mandatories the entire time they're out there, so that I am backstage doing my turns, right, when the group in front of me is out there, so that, number one, I'm pumped up maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'm not pumped up all the way. I'm already have the jitters out. I'm already ready. And when I go out there, I just seem to be a lot more calm. So just a little tip of what I do that personally helps.
I like that.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the more confidence you're going to have on stage. And it totally shows with stage presence. So yeah.
And I know
muscle memory.
Yeah, I know a lot of people right now don't have the gym open to do it in the gym, but once you do, I do recommend too, do it in the gym when there's people around, when you feel awkward. I used to always wait until like, okay, nobody's in here right now. All right, now I'll practice my posing. Don't do that. Practice
Just
when
do it.
people are in there, and it's going to help you feel so much more comfortable on stage.
And confident, because you won't give a hoots about what anyone thinks.
You don't care.
I got my thing going on, and you all can watch or not.
Yep.
And go to posing clinics. You know, there's free posing clinics all the time. You can get 5, 6, 7 different people's hands on you at all these clinics. Go to these posing clinics. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
those are great.
practice with a mirror and without a mirror, and record yourself every time so that you can you're posing. Oh, I didn't have my turn as well, like that time, the transition or whatever. Practice recording, practice with the mirror and without a mirror.
That's a good point. Good point without the mirror. That's a good point.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to some people who are on the call for sure. I'm trying to shuffle through and see who's on the call. I know we've got Allie. You didn't have any questions for me, but I will open the floor for questions for people. Krista had a really good question. This question is really great question. Proper timing for eating on show day, and any tips for choreographing an amazing individual presentation? How do you find that happy medium place where your physique looks great and you're eating more relaxed? Relaxed meaning still clean but not weighing everything. So there's multiple questions here. Let's start with the first one. Proper timing for eating on show day. So for me, peak week isn't about like killing myself and cutting calories. It's about finding where my body responds the best based on my eating timing, so that when I do go into the show, I know like, okay, 2 hours before I ate this, and then an hour after I looked like this, 2 hours after I looked like this. Timing that throughout the week. So on show day, you can say, oh gosh, I got to get up at 5 a.m. and have my first meal, because by meal 3, I looked awesome. You know, Monday when I had my first meal, I didn't look good until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you're going to go on stage at 12. So you have to kind of figure out, okay, what food and what calories do I get in before I hit the stage to make my physique look the best that it can look. So that's kind of again, you have to play around with it for your own personal body, kind of like the pump up and all that other stuff. But peak week is where I kind of take that to figure that out.
Also, I would say there's tricks you can do if you wake up flat versus we wake up spilled over, like you're too soft. So I think that would go into a lot more detail than we have time for, but sodium plays a key role as well, sodium and water, and not just the food. So yeah, so you can do a lot with just the sodium and not so much carbs, because the carbs take a long time, but the sodium can have like a quicker reaction. So yeah, there's a science to that though.
Yeah, there's a lot of play that you can get between, the sodium, the foods. Like Kat said, I usually, every couple hours, eat a little something and kind of play with that through the peak week. But I don't ever like cut myself super short where I feel like crap going into a show. I hear so many people, I'm so hungry, I'm so tired. Like you really should not feel like that going into your show. So if you are, you're depleted. Yeah, you're depleting yourself way too low. Get stage lean so you don't have to go crazy on peak weekend that day of the show.
Yeah, if you're lean enough, you don't have to play with that as much, especially if you're a bikini or a men's physique competitor. I think when you're a bodybuilder, classic physique, women's physique, you have to even figure, that's a little more into play. But as a bikini or physique, a lot of times I'll eat exactly the same. I might just manipulate my water a little bit, but nothing too crazy. It just depends. I think that there's a lot of variables. I think you nailed it when you said you work backwards. When am I competing? I'm going to work backwards. That's a great tip. For me, think about your competitor meeting when the competitor meeting is before, so that you have food there, so that you're not sitting in a competitor meeting with your food backstage. And me personally, I don't like eating cold food. So I use a thing called a Hot Logic. You plug it in and it's like a lunch pail with like a hot plate warmer in it. And so you
I have
can
the same thing.
or whatever. And it's amazing. You can have hot
I've
food
heard
in
that.
there. So
It's on Amazon, $20.
yeah, but I think that you guys nailed it. I think there's variables. I think you can play with stuff. If you have a coach, of course, listen to them. Listen to your coaches. They know what they're doing for the most part, if he's a good coach or she's a good coach.
And I'll share another resource. If you can't afford a coach, it's a lot of experimentation with your own body, but
There is.
if you look up, there's a couple books, Lane Norton has books. That's really great resource, Lane Norton. And then also the bodybuilding book by Cliff Wilson and Peter Schaefer. Mm-hmm. And then I hope you're taking notes. There's a new YouTube series that I just fell in love with last year. It's called Contest University or Contest Prep University. It's the diet doc. He's the guy that coached Lane Norton. So, what's his name? I can't remember his name now, but it's an awesome series. And the first series, he goes through peak week. And then he does other like off season and things. So the YouTube series, that's free information. So many great tips. They're just like 5-minute videos. Most of them, some of them are longer, but you can get a lot of information that is like healthy information, not the bro science stuff. So Contest Prep University on YouTube.
Perfect. Those are great ideas. That's a great idea, Lacey. Okay, and then any tips for choreographing an amazing individual presentation? I love this part. Initially, when I first competed, I had no idea that you could actually do your own T-walk routine, like pick your own music, until I had this promoter who was like, you need to get some music. And I'm like, no, I just do like house music. He's like, no, you really should. And then I'm like, oh, and then I saw Courtney had done a routine to Michael Jackson, the funky one, whatever it was, and it was so cool. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can make up my own routine. So it is important. Definitely choreograph an awesome T-walk, because that's your time to shine. Use music that you enjoy and that pumps you up, and you can put it together yourself, or there's people out there. I know that most of us have a background in dance or choreography and stuff like that. You can find anybody to help you with that, a choreographer, but it's well worth your time to pick your music well and have a great routine to show on stage, I think.
And check with the promoter too, because depending on the show, they'll allow small, like if they have a lot of competitors, you'll probably have your time cut shorter. So
yeah, most of them are 60 seconds.
Yeah, I know
90 for the pros.
The Yorton Cup, they switched it to an iWalk because they had a lot of competitors. So you need to be able to make adjustments on the fly as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually say to, like Kat said, find that music that you like first. Before you do anything, find that music that you get excited about, you feel like you can move to. I usually say a good steady rhythm too, because if you're like me, I like to move to the rhythm, and if the walk is going to be super fast, it's going to look forced and awkward. So something with a medium tempo. And then I use YouTube as my resource. I'll look at dance team routines. I'll look at the music video for that song. Anything that I can pull from YouTube that has some sort of choreographed routine of some sort, and find things that, okay, that caught my eye, I really like that. How can I work this into a transition, into a pose, and get really creative with it? So that's usually what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. And then let's see, I'm trying to get to everyone who I know are on here, because we are running short on time. And if we didn't get to your question, don't worry. We all have these questions. So what I'm going to ask all of the panel to do is we'll write our responses down, and then I'll send it out and in an email to everybody with your questions and our answers. And we're also recording this call, and I'm going to edit it and we'll put it on YouTube. So it'll be up there so you can go back and reference it as well.
I just remembered that guy, Joe Klemczewski, or Joe Klemczewski. I don't know how you spell it, but Joe Klemczewski.
But it's
I'd like to.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would like to add with the posing, it's great to look things up for ideas, but don't try to copy somebody else because it never works out. Like if you naturally turn to the left, then turn to the left and make your transition to the left. So do what comes naturally to you. And it's good to use ideas, but don't try to just be somebody else because it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. It's just an inspiration.
Yes. So I just had that in my notes. That's all.
No, that's good. That's actually absolutely right, because you think like you can look up someone and be like, oh, I look just like them when you're posing, and you just don't.
Listen, I competed DFAC in the athletic category, which is like women's physique, but the criteria is a little bit different, right? And so I looked up Dana Lynn Bailey and I tried to do some Dana Lynn Bailey women physique stuff. No. But once I started doing my own, it was fine, but I am no Dana Lynn Bailey. So
it's neat to see how you evolve though, as you pull those things that you like and you're like, okay, I'm trying to be this person and it's just not working. And you totally evolve and you become your own.
You make it your own.
But using those inspirations is totally key to get you on the right track.
For sure. For sure.
And then same question from Krista, which is how do you find that happy medium place where your physique looks great and you're eating a little bit more relaxed? That is I know we're laughing because you go from
Krista, that's funny.
Stage lean to a little puffy. I mean, there's no.
You just got to get used to a little bit of fluff. I mean, it's the brain. It's this.
Yeah, I think. I think that's the hardest part for me as a sport. You know, I've always been a pretty fit person, even when I had high cholesterol. You know, I was never super heavy or overweight. I've always been in good shape. Right now, you know, I compete at 117. Right now I'm 137. And that's kind of my go-to weight usually when I'm off season, but I'm 137 in about 8 years, you know? So
somebody's car here.
You have to like decide that you're okay with it and use it for your advantage. Okay, so I'm a little heavier. That means I can throw a little bit more weight, you know, build my muscles a little bit more. So I don't know. It's having the right mentality. And that's one of the problems I have with having really young girls. I have an 18-year-old daughter who really wants to compete. And I really hesitate because it is something that you need to know your body and be very adult and aware of the ramifications of all the mind tricks that can come with it. So, you know, all my friends wish they look like me right now. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to lose 20 pounds. So it's hard. It's hard. There's I don't really have an answer besides you deal with it. You try to know that, you know, as long as you're being healthy and doing the right things, that you just do the best that you can. And you might not always be with it, but
when you're going low and slow, I always say that little bit of weight gain, low and slow done the right way is good progress. It should never be looked at. It took me 18 months to put that on. Yes.
It took me 18 months to put that on. That's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just, you know, you're not going to be stage lean all the time. If you are, that's not healthy. So
no,
your body
sometimes your body needs a break.
On some fluff.
You have to just know that you're doing the right thing for yourself physically. And I think that helps with what you look like in the mirror.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, intuitive eating came after I had been tracking my food for a long time.
Yes.
So I don't feel like I can't go on vacation and not track my food. So, if you are diligent in tracking your food, weighing everything for a while, then, you can not weigh your broccoli next time, you know, if you're eating.
You kind of just know, don't you? After a while, you're just like, yeah, that's about right.
It's not work anymore. So it comes with time and being able to eat more intuitively and not weigh everything. So and knowing your body. So
yep, that was exactly my next thought.
Okay, we'll go on to our last question, and then we're going to, we'll go ahead and do our drawing. And if we have any time after, we'll open the floor to any questions you have. But again, if your questions weren't answered, you can always email them to me and I'll send them out to the panel. We'll be happy to answer them. This question is from Kate. What is something you learned a few competitions in that you wished you had learned sooner? Do you have a most memorable moment from a competition? Do you have experience with competing in other sports? And what is your go-to prep meal? So this is a long question. These are some long questions, but they're really good questions, I think. What is something you learned a few competitions in that you wished you had learned sooner? Mine was to ask for judges' feedback. Because I was always, I know it sounds crazy, but I was like, oh, I was horrible. It's because of this or that in my own mind, but not being, well, I need to go up and just ask the judges. I was a little bit shy about that. So I learned that that is huge. And the benefits from asking for that feedback is game changing.
Yeah, find out how you get the judges' feedback depending on the show. Sometimes you have to ask prior, or sometimes judges, I've even had to pay at a show to get my feedback.
Had to do that. That's ridiculous.
It is. It's stupid. Olympia required that. I was like, nah, I ain't
Ridiculous.
for it. No, I'm good.
Yeah, so
I wish I would have known there was such a thing as a running format show for my first competition. I did well.
That's nice,
First and second, I did split shows, and I'm like, this day I'm exhausted. We got done so late, we couldn't even go out to eat and celebrate afterwards. I was just drained. And then the next year, I was like, dude, there's a show that has a running format. Why did I not know this? You can actually enjoy your day and not be completely wore out, and you can go celebrate with your family. So I wish I would have known that.
That is a great, and what Courtney's talking about is historically they would do pre-judging in the morning, and then you would have this giant break in between, and then they do a night show, which could start at 5, it could start at 6, and then it could go on until 11 sometimes. Running format, they start at 12, your class goes on, you do your comparisons, you go off, you come back and do your T-walks, and then they award you right then and there, and you're done. So it's amazing. Running format is actually nice for athletes for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Tracy?
So something
And family.
The judges' feedback goes back for me because I wish I would have been in the right division for years before, right? Because I did for so many years, and I did well, but not like bikini. Although the sport has changed too, so I've also so that could have something to do with it too. So that's number one. And number two, to really understand how important posing is, to really understand that that's just as important as the time you spend in the gym, period, end of story. And then you said the next question was the most memorable moment. And then you said experience with other sports. Was that the other two parts? I'll do those really quick. Most memorable for me is just my girlfriends always coming. When I first started competing, like one of my girlfriends does hair, one of them does this, and we would just have fun all day long. That's what it was about. But also my very first show, I took last in one of the groupings, but I should have taken first. But on stage, I took last, and I just smiled and took my award and went off the stage, and they corrected it later. But it just taught me to have really good sportsmanship. Like, have good sportsmanship. It's no one's fault when stuff like that happens. Now as a promoter, obviously, I would love to have a competitor that if something happened, they smiled and graciously got it taken care of. So, I think the sport of natural bodybuilding is all about camaraderie. I think that we build each other up. But I think good sportsmanship is a really big part of that. So, and I was a cheerleader. I ran track. Never anything super competitive, but I've always been very active. I was in the Army for 4 years. So I've always been active, but bodybuilding is a really cool sport. So that's what I got for those questions. I just sit here and I listen to y'all.
I was a gymnast and a pole vaulter, so.
That's what my daughter does. She's a gymnast and a pole vaulter.
Pole vaulter. They go hand in hand. They really do.
Yeah, they sure do. That's cool.
Anybody else?
My most memorable moment was probably winning pro card. That's pretty big highlight in your career. I think for most competitors, winning that pro card is pretty cool. And then, placing on the podium at the Olympia this last year Natural Olympia was pretty cool. Holding the big old flag up there.
Yeah.
Made you tear up a little bit.
Yep.
I probably should have added universe in there. I don't even think I really said much about that. So
yeah.
I should have probably put that with my bio when I started, right?
It's a
universe
huge
a couple times.
Did you watch my video though on YouTube? I did say that. I'm like,
okay, yeah, I forget. I don't know.
I made sure I put all that good stuff in there. No.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
It is. It really is. How about you, Lacey?
For what I wish I would have learned earlier, aside from what you guys mentioned, the posing and the judges' feedback, I would say just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean you should too. With diet or with exercises.
Or posing.
Yes. So don't get caught up in the comparison game. Just look to people that inspire you, but doesn't mean you should be doing their protocol. It's so individual. Your body's so different.
Yep.
And then what's the other question?
Sports. Did you play sports?
Oh, yes. I grew up playing soccer and basketball, and I did cheerleading my senior year, which blew out my knee. I was a flyer. So ever since then, 20 years down the road, I've been dealing with that knee, and I don't have a functioning ACL anymore. So I can't run. So bodybuilding is pretty much the only sport I can do. And I love it. But my knee holds me back a little bit, but it's also helped my knee a lot. Growing those muscles around my joint has helped a lot. So, and then my most memorable moment was with you, Kat. Just competing with a friend and experiencing that together. But I also have to say that I love all my new friends that I've grown with my fit family and all the camaraderie. And so if you're new to the sport, just reach out and anybody will help you. I haven't experienced anywhere that's like the experienced competitors will not help you if you have a question, or the promoter. Just reach out, ask questions, and they'll make you feel welcome. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's perfect. And I love that, Lacey, because you're absolutely right. All of these people on this panel, we have met each other through bodybuilding, and just it's an amazing thing to have good friends and to be able to bounce ideas around. And we are here for you guys. So speaking of here for you guys, we're going to give away some giveaways that you might even be able to be working with some of us. So I'm going to have my trusty technology guy, Paul, do his little random number thing, and we're going to get going with that. The first giveaway we're going to do is going to be a free registration to the Florida Surge, which is my show, and a free Florida Surge t-shirt. So you will get that. And Paul, who is our lucky winner?
All right, I'm just going through right now.
Drum roll, please.
I don't know who's on the call. So
Okay, if they're not on the call.
Okay, so we have up for your remote training first.
Oh, I was going to do the Surge first.
Oh, the Surge. Okay, hang on. For the Surge, we got Victoria Finley.
Victoria, I think you are on the call. Let's see, too. And I also think, let's see, Victoria Finley, I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there she is right there. Okay. Victoria, I'm unmuting you.
Hi.
Great. Hi. You want our free Florida Surge registration and Florida Surge t-shirt. So I will make sure to get that out to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next person up. Thank you for joining our call. Next person is going to be a 30-minute personal training session with me.
Okay, and that is Michonne Jackson.
Michonne. Is she on the call? Didn't see Michonne on here.
If not, go for another one.
Michonne. No. Does anyone see her on the call? All right,
Okay.
next lucky winner.
Krista Smith.
Krista, you're on the call. Yes, I think so. Krista's on the call. I'm going to unmute you. You get to train with me for 30 minutes. Are you ready?
I'm not sure.
No, we'll talk before we train, but I'll get that over to you too, and then we'll get that scheduled, okay? Okay, next one.
You tell me.
me.
Okay, posing with Courtney.
Posing with Miss Courtney.
Lori Spiegel.
Lori, are you on the call, Lori Spiegel? I think you are. Is Lori on the call? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to. No, she's not.
I don't think so.
All right, moving on. Next person.
Allie.
Allie. I know you're on the call, girl. I saw you. You get to do a free 30-minute posing session with Courtney. And I've actually done a session with her, and it's well worth it. You will get a great posing.
Okay, posing.
Allie, what division are you looking at?
If I do it, I'm looking probably more towards bikini. Eventually, I'd like to do figure, but I think I got to start out with bikini and see where I go from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, next one.
Posing with Lacey.
Posing with Lacey, another awesome posing coach.
Melanie Burns.
Melanie Burns. Melanie, I know you're not 100% sure if you're going to compete, but you get to do some posing with Lacey.
All right. And then the Hurricane Classic.
Okay, and then we're giving away a free registration to the Hurricane Classic, which is Tracy's show.
Yeah, that's going to be Labor Day weekend in DeBary, Florida.
Okay, and that goes to Rebecca Miller. Are you on the call? Oh, yes, Rebecca, I see you on here. Okay, Rebecca, I'm unmuting you. You won the free registration for the Hurricane.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, when that gets closer, when you register, if you register and you decide to compete, when you get a hold of me and send your registration, just put a little note on there and I'll make sure that we're square. And you can go right on our website. It's ngahurricaneclassic.com. And everything about the show is on that website, everything. And you can call me if you have any questions. And just so you know, because we have some pros on here, we're having pros too.
Oh, for the Hurricane Classic, it's a pro-am?
Yeah, we're having bikini model, and men's physique.
Oh,
so.
Yes. No figure.
Not yet. This is my first year hosting the pros. So, and I have a feeling based upon the numbers, the way that the show is going to probably be ran, is we will probably do a men's show in the morning straight through, women's show in the afternoon straight through. So men like at 9 a.m., they're done by noon, 1 o'clock. Women come in at 2 or 3 and we run straight through. Because it's a small venue. And if we have a lot of registrations, then we're going to break it down even more and do like the men's bodybuilding, classic physique, and just clear the venue out between each show. If we're not allowed to have spectators, that's fine. If we're not allowed to do tans, guess what? Everyone can do their own tans. And if they look terrible, then oh well, you're not being judged on your tan. I'm talking about like the social distancing thing, everything that's been going on. There's
Pro tan is a beautiful thing. Just saying.
It sustains everything. Dark as is my favorite
but
to do.
So easy to put on.
Yeah, it's pretty though. So anyways, my point being is there's going to be a Hurricane Classic no matter what. Like, even if there's a hurricane, we have a built-in.
Even if there's a hurricane, it's going to be classic.
It's happening. It's happening.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thank you all so much for all your questions, and thank you, ladies, for being here.